It's 7:15 on Wednesday, the 6th of July 2016. Welcome to the very first Cats Whiskers podcast live. Hello and welcome to our very first live broadcast. My name is Jono Bullard, and with me on this momentous occasion is Paul Balm.
Hello.
And Tina Taylor.
Bleep machines on standby. Good evening.
Yeah, it is actually, it is. You can interact with us anytime during the show as we are live. They'll be on Twitter if you use the hashtag TCW Live, and we will be monitoring that throughout the show. Got a lot to pack into the next 45 minutes. We've got an interview coming up with Craig Anderson and Rob McGregor from the EIHL media team. We'll also be discussing all the other goings-on in the Elite League, and, of course, we'll have some parish notices at the end of the show. But first, of course, we will talk about the Nottingham Panthers. Way back on June the 6th, the Panthers announced their second brand new import signing, Matt Carter, who 28-year-old left winger who joins after 2 seasons playing for Les Rapaces de Gap in the French Ligue Magnus. Tina, he's played with Chris Lawrence before, and also our other new signing, Jeff Brown. Can you see them being aligned together?
Well, I can see them starting off as a line, certainly, because, early season, everybody's still feeling each other out. So a bit of familiarity is going to do well, just to give us a bit of a push in the beginning of the season. So it's not unreasonable to think that they won't start like that. But obviously, as we well know, some partnerships and some lines don't get solidified until much later in the season. So I can imagine them starting together, but maybe not finishing together.
Now, again, as with any brand new Panthers signing, there seems to be a bit of negativity, but I did an article on the Cats Whiskers website when he signed, and somebody on the cage actually put that he had better CIS stats and also French League stats than Guillaume Doucet, and we know what a hot shot he's been in the Elite League, both for us and also for the Cardiff Devils last season. I mean, Paul, it bodes well if his stats are that good when compared to someone who has done it in this league when it comes to goal scoring.
Why did you start that sentence with words about negativity and then come to me?
It wasn't deliberate. It wasn't deliberate. Answer the question.
I think it's a sort of case of wait and see. Obviously, the French leagues can be very different in some ways to ours. I mean, you're talking about Doucet there. If you think a bit further back, we had Marty Gascon, who didn't really tear up any trees in this country, but went to France and did pretty well. So for me, it's a bit of a wait and see. But if he's scoring more points than Doucet, then that's encouraging.
I actually personally think he's going to be a bit of an unsung hero. I think he's flown under the radar. He's not really been noticed compared to other signings that some other clubs have made. But I think anyone who scores like he did in the French League, I think he had something like 1.31 points per game average. I think he's going to do very well. I mean, Tina, is that an opinion that you share?
Well, if he's good for more than a point a game, then that's a pretty good standard of points coming to our league. I'll take that, quite frankly. And if he's going to be an unsung hero, why haven't I been asked to be his sponsor yet? That's I'm all for the unsung heroes. I mean, joking apart, whenever Mosey first came across, for anybody who isn't aware and hasn't heard me talk about it endlessly, I was Evan Mosey's sponsor. I took a punt on him because he was I know, but I just thought I'd tell those 3 people. But yeah, I memean, he was an unsung hero. By the end of it, it's sort of people looking at him and going, well, what's he done? But yeah, if I'm all for the unsung hero. So I I really hope he does well. Obviously,
there is one other thing that does worry me slightly, though, is that the other teams out there are going to find it fairly easy to work out our recruitment policy.
What is it?
Does he know Chris Lawrence? Sign it.
Well, it is quite unusual that the only 2 new signings that we made so far are both very, very good friends with Mr. Lawrence. So I don't know. We'll
that's
see.
Obviously a ploy, isn't it?
Yeah, I hope he knows Alexander Ovechkin. That's all I can say. 2 days later, after the announcement that Carter was joining the Panthers, it was announced that Sam Oakford would be returning for his 3rd season on the blue line, and also Dan Green would be returning as backup netminder. Now, Tina, I know you're a big fan of Sam Oakford, and it was reward for an excellent second half of last season.
Definitely. Could not agree more. I can't believe. Well, I mean, obviously we don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but I can't believe it took so long to get him re-signed. I mean, that it was a must. I loved watching him come into his own in the second half of the season. I mean, he was fairly steady at the beginning of the season anyway, and yeah, he put in some solid minutes from sort of December onwards. It was a joy to watch. I love an underdog. Love an underdog and an unsung hero, and Sam Oakford being back for us. Yeah, thumbs up from me.
I mean, Paul, he really has matured in his 2 seasons since he joined from Bracknell.
He has. And I was surprised at times, especially the start of last season, that he wasn't getting more time than he was. I mean, obviously we got Swindlehurst then, and he's got to take this as a big opportunity. Swindlehurst isn't coming back. We know that now. So Oakford's got to step up and use that maturity that he's already learnt to take another step forward. I think he's got it in him.
Because Dan Green, hardest job in hockey as a backup netminder. It's a much maligned role, especially in the Elite League. But Tina, he doesn't let us down, and I don't think he let us down at all last season.
No, I think he had his best season for as long as I've been watching last season. I mean, he obviously had more opportunities to play because of the unfortunate injury to Mika Weekman and the delay it took in getting Madalora in. So he had some increased minutes as well that he probably wasn't expecting. And, he just got his head down and got on with it. He'll be there when we need him, and he gets out there and he'll come up. He'll come up good. I mean, I was up in Braehead for the triple header when he had to start, and we had to borrow a young lad from Solway, I believe it was, as our backup that night. And we took a shootout win, and great. I was so happy for him. So yeah, it is joking apart, the hardest job in hockey, because you are waiting for, and it's awful. You're waiting for an injury to your number one essentially before you're going to get any kind of chance to play and show what you can do.
I mean, Paul, I feel he does get some unfair criticism. It's not his fault that Panthers weren't quick in replacing Mika Weekman when he was injured. So he comes in, he's often cold, he's out of practice, but he does a job, and I think Corey Nielsen has a lot of trust in him.
Yeah, I mean, and to be honest, it's nice to see. In some ways, I mean, in some ways you hope you never actually see your backup, but at the same token, the amount of time that he gets through the trust that Nielsen has in him, that then pays dividends, because he's coming in cold to the games, but he's that bit more ready than, if he hadn't had, he's playing in March when he hasn't had any time since November.
Okay. Still 4 import roster spots to be completed for the Panthers. It's looking likely it's going to be 3 defensemen and 1 forward. Obviously, Jeff Waugh and Jeff Dimon already on the blue line, along with Sam Oakford and Steve Lee. So, Tina, 3D, 1 forward, is that how you see it going?
I can well imagine that. I mean, had we retained Swindlehurst, it might have been a different story. But with us only having Lee and Oakford, I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's going to be some Brit from somewhere that Corey and Strax are going to pull out of obscurity, who can do that kind of a job as an import level British defenseman. I don't know where it's coming from, but I'm just trying to maybe play a bit of devil's advocate. But yeah, it's possibly looking that way, and that's fine. I mean, it's kind of where we were at last season, so it's not unreasonable to aim for that sort of standard again.
Paul, I mean, a lot has been said on the forums and on social media about some people don't feel that the forward lines are strong enough, that we haven't got enough goal scoring. So it's really, if that is the case, it's really essential that those 3D are absolute stellar signings.
Well, yeah, I mean that's always the case anyway. You always want quality players to come in, but yeah, I mean, if I'm honest, I think we do look a bit shy of goals from the forwards, but it's July. A lot can change between now and then, and with us possibly still holding out for Kolnick, who knows where that's in. But I think that final forward, we really need some goals. But I mean, if I'm honest, you're talking about the defence, and I have worked out another of our signing policies. Sign players called Jeff. There's, if we were to bring, I'd like to see Schmidt back. I'd like to see Quick back. Maybe even McDonald from last season. But I think
McDonald's retiring, so I'd be very surprised to see him back. But
we've had any number of players who look like they've retired.
But Schmidt,
so he should fit right in.
But Schmidt and Quick, I agree. I think
there's two words you don't say in the same sentence very often.
But they are. I think they both. Well, Quick, I thought was excellent when he came in. And I thought Schmidt was our best defenseman overall last season. So, I mean, I know he was talking about retiring, but I believe he's still in Nottingham because of his university degree, and I believe that his partner is also from Nottingham. So, it may be so that we do see him back. I know you mentioned Juraj Kolnick there, and Corey Nielsen said that there is an offer on the table for him. He was our top point scorer last season, excellent player. Do you think it's right to hold on for him, though, thinking that we only have still 6 weeks on Saturday when we have that first game against the Braehead Clan pre-season?
I think, yes, because of what he did for us last season, you've still got to keep that iron in the fire. But by the same token, it won't be the only one. Nielsen will be talking to you would hope he'd be talking to other players, just in case Kolnick decides against it. And we have to give Kolnick a cut-off for him to say yes or no. That's how it always runs. I mean, players sign at different times of the summer. There are some who like to get it sorted out very early. There are others who all hold out to see what they can get. Maybe he's one of those.
I mean, Tina, do you think it's right to hold on for Kolnick, or do you think we should probably be looking elsewhere at this point?
Yes. As long as we're not missing out on, and I don't want to sound like I'm maligning Kolnick in any way. As long as we're not going to miss out on somebody better, then yes, I think Kolnick was he came into a bit of form and scored a lot of points. He's valuable. He is a valuable forward and he was a valuable forward for us.
And he's played with Chris Lawrence, so he fits the policy.
And do you think that we need another Brit as well? I mean, I'm not talking defence, because I think 3 import D, 2 Brit D is fine. But do you think we need another British forward, which would take us to 13 forwards?
I think a lot of that depends on Ollie Betteridge and how he grabs his opportunity with the departure of Matthew Myers. It would be sensible to maybe have somebody in that role that maybe was carved out for Ollie. Maybe sort of bring somebody through the ranks to to keep the development going. That would be a sensible thing to do, but. Good British players don't grow on trees, so you can't just have anybody. You've got to have the right guy.
Well, of course, Ben Davies still not signed anywhere yet, and he was at the Clan last season. Same with Matty Davis, who was, of course, the captain of the Manchester Storm. He's still not said where he's going to be next season. So that's a couple of quality Brits that are available, Paul.
Sorry.
Go on.
Well, I was just going to say, if they're available, it would be foolish to not make inquiries.
Yeah, Paul?
What Tina said.
Okay, fair enough.
Sorry, I stole your thunder a little bit.
That's pretty much it. No, I mean, basically, you've always got to be looking what's out there, and if something comes available, then you don't look a gift horse in the mouth, do you? Especially with hockey players, because they've hardly got any teeth anyway.
The pre-season schedule has also been completed. The Panthers will play the Braehead Clan at the NIC in the Aladdin Cup on the 20th of August, followed by a trip to the Coventry Blaze on the following Wednesday, and then the following weekend, which is the bank holiday weekend, will be taking part in the Napoleon Cup in Amiens in northern France. And Tina, do you think that's a complete enough pre-season schedule to get the guys ready for the new season?
Perhaps. It's useful to play other Elite League teams. You can sort of feel each other out a little bit early before you start playing competitive games.
I'm very excited though.
Well, it kicks the season off a bit early, doesn't it? It shakes the cobwebs out and such. So yeah, I mean, it's had the Panthers not been going into the Napoleon Cup, I think playing just the Clan and the Blaze, I'd have been thoroughly underwhelmed with that. But it seems like a reasonable pre-season schedule.
Of course, it was also announced that Panthers will start in the second round of the Continental Cup in, I don't know whether it's Jassa or Jaca in Spain, in northern Spain. The other opponents are HK Lepeja of Latvia and the first round qualifier. The third round, should Panthers get through, will be in Odense, Denmark in November, and should Panthers get through and finish in the top two of that, they could go to the Super Final, which will be in January. Going back to that Spanish round, I mean, Paul, we should be looking to get out of that group.
We should, really. I mean, looking at sort of the opposition, we should be the best team out of there. But, I mean, part of whenever we play in these European tournaments is getting used to playing in that European style, or getting used to playing with European referees, which, because we play that different sort of style and we're not used to the referees as maybe as much as our European counterparts are, then that always feels like it's against us. But it's an interesting place to hold around like that, isn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't look like the easiest place to get to, and I was looking, and I don't think I'll be able to make it. I think Odense may be a more realistic option if we do get through. We have had a question on hashtag TCW Live. Please send that through on Twitter if you want to interact with us during the show. It comes from Jonathan Fernley. He says, if Panthers don't win the league, how far would they have to go in the Continental Cup to make up for it? I mean, is reaching the final a realistic ambition, do you think, Tina?
Before even a puck has dropped, I have. Oh gosh, I don't know. I mean, I would like to think that with historically with the teams that Corey Nielsen and Rick Strachan can put together, that getting out of the second round is doable. If we get, I don't think if Panthers don't win the league, I don't think the Continental Cup will matter a hoot. Quite frankly, I think we are still quite an insular league, and I think our domestic competition is what we thrive on. So it would be nice to progress in the Continental Cup. I would love it if we got to the final. If we did get to the final, I would very much consider starting to look on for flights. But yeah, I don't think how far we progress in the Continental Cup is going to matter one bit if we don't win the league.
I mean, Paul, the final, do you think it's realistic? Also, winning it, or would you rather us probably go out at one of the early stages and concentrate more on the domestic trophies?
it's a dual-edged sword, anything like this, isn't it, really? I think, realistically, in terms of making the final, there is a better chance than previously because they've changed the format, and now I think it's the top two go through, isn't it?
Yeah.
From that third round. But, yeah, by the same token, the old adage of when you get knocked out the cup, it leaves you to concentrate on the league, could also hold true. I mean, it depends what the club want to do for me, but also for me, I think basically to be looking at the Continental Cup rather than the league is short-sighted.
Panthers have also asked fans to choose an intro song for their entrance onto the ice next season, which is going to be narrowed to 5 choices and then voted for by the fans. I mean, Paul, we've often criticised Panthers for not communicating or engaging with the fan base, so it's only right that we praise them when they bring out an initiative like this.
It is, and I hope they get what something worth having. But yeah, I mean, this is the sort of thing we've talked about, and I've written about, especially at length, about how the Panthers don't look at the fans as anything other than an open wallet. Well, this is a sign maybe that things, at least in terms of this, have changed.
I mean, I actually bumped into Ken Feast, who of course the Match Night DJ, a few days ago, and he was really, really buzzing about this and about getting the fans to choose it, because it then falls on the fans who go for the most popular song. So I'm going to ask you both. Tina, I'll start with you. What would be your choices?
Oh God, I don't blooming know. I mean, the only thing that really sprung to mind for me, and it kind of makes it a little bit of an odd one, because I heard it when I went to Montreal. I went to watch the Montreal Canadiens a couple of years ago, and their intro song was a song by a band called Volbeat, a Danish rock band, I believe they are. It was a really, really good song, and it really got you going. I think, unfortunately, any song that anybody chooses is there's going to be limitations to it because of the board. Because it doesn't, whatever happens, you can't have any more than 20 seconds of visual, and the music has to be pressed separately to the visuals and stuff. So it's all very complicated. So it's got to be worked in a very clever way. I don't know that I just haven't got a clue. There's just so many songs, and I know there'll be a lot more people who have got that. They've got their finger on the pulse of the songs that the kind of appropriate songs that would go with that. I mean, I've maybe got some suggestions, but of songs that I would like, but I don't think they would maybe be appropriate in terms of what they're trying to achieve with the video, with the intro video.
Okay. Paul, you got any ideas?
I know we've had it before, but I was like, won't get fooled again by The Who. The bit where it's sort of the quiet organ bit and then it just crashes in again, I thought was brilliant. But as far as I'm concerned, anything other than Cotton Eye Joe, and I'll be borderline happy.
Yeah, I think for me, Dropkick Murphys' Time to Go would be the one for me. But
nobody's stopping you.
Anyway, look, I'm still trying to pay Ken or bribe him in some fashion or form to drop the YMCA, because I want nothing to do with that.
Is that a euphemism?
No.
Nothing wrong with a bit of YMCA.
There's everything wrong. We don't want to start this argument.
Hey, you can get yourself clean and you can have a
minutes.
good meal. You can do whatever you feel. I tell you. Anyway, I think it's time to move on to the Elite League news. The playoff weekend has been confirmed for the 8th and 9th of April 2017 at the NIC. Paul, really, it's the only choice, I suppose, isn't it?
I think so. For me, yeah, you've got. I mean, the arena's full, so it's the right size, and it's in the best location for me.
Tina?
Well, I believe there is the contract that exists with the NIC or with the Elite League to have it, and I think that's still in place for a couple more years. But I think we've talked about this, haven't we, on a previous podcast, where we've sort of assessed the infrastructure and other options, and Nottingham is probably the most suitable, but I can see it maybe being moved in the future. But for now, Nottingham sort of it has a trump card based on the location of the arena, I think.
Other venue news: in the Challenge Cup final has been confirmed. It will be at Ice Arena, Wales, in March 2017. Paul, what did you think of that when it was announced as a venue? Because obviously, brand new venue, but only a 3,100 capacity. Can you see that being a problem?
Depends who gets there. If say it's us and Sheffield or Cardiff are involved again, then there could be a scarcity of tickets. But one thing that I was thinking about, we just talked about the playoffs and how it sells out, and something. Think back to the 90s when we're told British ice hockey wasn't as stable as it is now, spending money, all this, that, and the other, got too much. But we got a contract with Sky, and when they had the Autumn Cup final, as it was then, Sheffield Arena, as far as I can remember, it was pretty much full. Compare that to when we won it last year, and there was a whole of one end that wasn't full. There was there are plenty of seats available, so maybe the appetite for that standalone final that used to be there for the Autumn Cup isn't there for the Challenge Cup for whatever reason. We're forever being told about how it's devalued. So maybe, despite how it sort of seems on first view, it might actually be a good idea.
Okay. Staying in Cardiff, and as no surprise to anyone, it was announced that Matthew Myers will be playing for the Devils again next season after a season with the Panthers and leaving through his contract. Tina, that was no real shock at all, was it?
No, and I'm really happy for him, to be honest, that he's been able to go back down there after it was rumoured to be tumultuous times that he was going through towards the end of the Paul Reagan era. I would have loved to have seen him come back to Nottingham, but he went home. He went home to Cardiff, to his other home, to his actual home, his birthplace. And I don't think he ever wanted to see a scenario where he felt he had to leave. So it's nice that they have welcomed him back with open arms, and he's been able to get himself back down there, carry on playing, because it would be an absolute travesty if he didn't carry on playing for a few more years. He's got a few more years in him, so I'm really happy for him.
2 re-signings announced today in the Elite League: Braehead with their forward Alex Levitt and Fife forward Justin Fox being re-signed. Talking of Fife, there was some rumours that about 3 weeks ago that they were going to be folding, that was emphatically quashed when her video of Todd Dutiem being interviewed appeared sort of the day after. But they were quite worrying rumours, and they still only have, I think, 6 or 7 players signed.
It's 6 players and no Brits.
Yeah. Obviously, the rumours of them folding are ridiculous and won't be happening. But with such a short time left until the start of the season, they really need to get a move on.
Yeah. What are they playing at? I mean, there's all their faithful Brits, and not one of them appear on the roster for the coming season. What's with that? That's the only thing that I personally would hold any gravitas to, the fact that there are no Brits on their roster.
However, they did sign Matthew Sisker from Storm, who got 34 plus 43 for 77 points last season in the Elite League, so I'm sure he will do very, very well for them. The Sheffield Steelers have got just one signing left to make as they complete their roster for their second attempt at the Champions Hockey League. I believe that signing is going to be announced this Friday morning at 6 a.m. Paul, do you think that's a bit of a disadvantage for them, that they have to sign their roster so early because of their participation in the Champions Hockey League?
Well, they managed all right with it last year.
Yeah, that's true.
I think. I mean, we had the same situation a couple of seasons ago. You are laying your stall out for everybody else to see what you've got to sell, and then they've got the opportunity to react. But it comes with the territory. If you want to enter, that competition, then you have to do that. So it's just one of those things.
Manchester, they received their blue tick verification on Twitter, the only team in the Elite League to have that. Now, I saw a few disparaging comments about that after it was given to them. Like, I think some people were saying, "Oh, does that get you into the playoffs, or does that win you games?" But I think a lot of people are missing the point. They have been, in their first season, absolutely superb, I think, on the social media side and keeping their fans informed and engaged. And I think this is another step to show how switched on they are with new forms of media and new forms of marketing. Do you think that's fair, Tina?
Yeah, I don't underestimate the blue tick. You have to go through an awful lot of rubbish to get one, as I understand it, and somebody has obviously gone to an awful lot of effort to do that. Now, anybody looking outside in, they're going to look at the media presence of the 10 Elite League teams. They're going to see that blue tick and they're going to go, "Oh, got a very professional organisation going on here, haven't we?" So chuck your disparaging comments at them all you like. They've made the effort to make themselves look like a professional team. And fair play to them.
Well, talking of media, I managed to catch up with Rob McGregor and Craig Anderson yesterday. They, of course, were added to the Elite League media team we announced on the last podcast back in May. So I had a chat with them about their roles and how they came about. You may remember on our last podcast back in May, we mentioned that there was 2 new additions to the Elite League media team, and for this podcast tonight, I'm delighted to welcome Craig Anderson.
Hello.
And Rob McGregor.
Hey, Jono.
Hi, guys. Well, thanks very much for joining us. And I suppose the first question I want to ask you, and Rob, I'll start with you, is how did the position come about?
I guess it started at the playoff final weekend. Seth Bennett got in touch, asked if I would be willing to help out as part of the coverage over the weekend, and obviously yourself were there, as was Craig, and I helped out on the Saturday. We drafted Craig in on the Sunday without wishing to skewer his story too much. But yeah, it kind of started from there, and the feedback we got was pretty good. I think we had about 1 million sort of hits on Twitter over the weekend, which was phenomenal, really, and it sort of spiraled from there a little bit, and Seth got in touch and asked if I'd like to come on in a more permanent role, so to speak, and here we are.
Craig, and you?
Yeah, same kind of thing as Rob said. The difference for me was I was kind of drafted in on the Sunday, as Rob said, for the final. I was down covering Five Flyers, obviously, given their appearance in the playoff finals, doing some media stuff for the media up in Scotland. Come the final, I was really at a loose end. I'd asked Seth if he needed a hand with anything, just thought I'd be polite. Next thing I'm doing Twitter on the playoff final, and he followed that up with a call and asked if I want to come on a more permanent basis, which I was delighted to accept.
I think since you both come on board, there's been a marketing increase in the amount of media that the Elite League are putting out for articles, interviews, etc., etc. But I think what people don't realise is you've both got young families, you're both holding down full-time jobs. So Craig, is that difficult to manage at times?
It's about managing your time. I'm lucky insofar as I've got a 4-hour travel when it comes to going to work. I've moved since my wife had her baby daughter Seren last year. I've moved from where I lived in East Kilbride near Glasgow down to Ayrshire, which is, I'm still working in the same place, so the journey's a lot longer. So I've got a couple of hours to sit in the train and type things up and maybe listen to recordings and maybe watch some highlights and things, and just generally get myself into the role, really. Lunchtime as well. I use up my lunchtime by maybe working as well. Not today, right enough. I had a bit of a day from that today, so I was quite pleased. But no, managing the time's good. I've also got night time as well once the baby's down for the night, and that's how I'm able to talk to you guys. So it's about managing time. I'm sure Rob would say the same thing. You've got to do your dad stuff. That's the utmost importance.
Yeah, I know all about that. So.
Yep. And being a husband as well. But it's finding that time and having an understanding wife as well. That's certainly a massive help.
Yeah, definitely. And Rob?
Yeah, I think Craig's covered most of it. It's being as organised as we can be, really. Thankfully, most of the clubs have been very good. They've all been very welcoming to us and welcomed us into the Elite League family. And we've got the relationships working there now with the various people at the clubs who help manage these stories and get them out there. So that's been a big help to certainly myself. I would say Craig would say the same. And it's as you said, it's being organised, being on top of things. And hopefully, as time goes by, we can start to put more and more good stuff out.
I mean, prior to your roles with the Elite League, both of you, I mean, Craig, you ran the incredibly successful Slapshot Scotland. Rob, you do various podcasts with cricket and, of course, the One Putt Short podcast with hockey. British hockey has never been so exposed in the media as it is now, from various fan podcasts, social media, obviously what you guys are doing with the Elite League, and then the clubs themselves. Do you agree with that, Rob, or do you think that there's a lot more that can be done?
I think social media's changed things for not just ice hockey, but a lot of sports. All the clubs have got presence on social media, and they've all got their local media ties, their local newspapers, and there's obviously national relationships that have formed over time as well. So I think we're doing well as a sport, but obviously it's a competitive marketplace. I don't think anybody's going to mind me saying that. It's a competitive. There's even some more established sports like you mentioned cricket there because of my own sort of personal interest in it. But even cricket struggled to get column inches in traditional newspapers, but is finding its way to reach its audience through other means. And ice hockey is no different. And I think in broad terms, then we're reaching more people than we've ever reached before, and hopefully that will continue to grow over time.
I mean, Craig, Slapshot Scotland was incredibly successful, covering mainly the Elite League clubs north of the border, and I suppose you just take that relationship on now into this role.
Yeah, I mean, doing the Slapshot Scotland thing, certainly for as long as I have, has allowed me to forge these relationships with the clubs. I've worked for Braehead Clan in the past as well, and as you say, it's able to continue that on now. I've got a different role. There's a bit more organisation involved, so therefore, I'm still in touch with the clubs. They're still able to help me out with information. So in that respect, it's not really changed an awful lot. It's just in a more official capacity, I would say.
And of course, just before I let you go, I noticed on Twitter you had a meeting with Seth on Saturday about taking the Elite League media forward. So anything you can reveal from that?
Well, what do you think, Rob? Should we tell him? No, it was a very fruitful meeting between the three of us. We all met up in Manchester. It was nice for me. I got out of the house for a while. We discussed a lot of things coming up. The fans will see that, obviously, as we get closer to the new season, the things we're going to do. We brainstormed on a few things as well. It's exciting times. I would say it's exciting times. You said, Jono, at the start there's more on the Elite League media side of things in terms of the website and social media. That's certainly going to be the case as we get nearer to the season, and that the fans will see exactly what we've been talking about.
Well, I want to thank both of you guys for taking the time to talk to us on the podcast, and wish you the best of luck for the role and going into the new season.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jono.
Many thanks to Rob and Craig there for taking the time to come and talk to us. Paul, Tina, we've seen how much that the Elite League media output has improved in recent times.
We have, and it's an incredibly important thing to do. You can't make a sport grow without it. And I think personally, though, there are other things in the league that we need to get sorted out just as much. I mean, look at the situation. I mean, I've commented on it before. The situation we had in Edinburgh last season, where we had a game where there wasn't somebody in the penalty box. Mm. Yeah. It's all right having all this media, but you've got to be able to walk before you can run.
I mean, Tina, obviously, Chris Ellis was running the media, but he was on his own, and it just goes to show how much it can improve when you have the resource at it. And when we've seen Chris with the resource that he has with GB, there's some excellent work being produced. So I think it's really, really good that there is more of an emphasis on the media output these days.
Yeah, I think it's just become too much for one person. So the fact that there's now a team of them is really encouraging.
Okay, just a few parish notices that we've got before we finish. We've got about 5 minutes left. So, the Rink Rush are back, and the Rink Rush quiz will be taking place at the Bunkers Hill Inn on Tuesday, the 26th of July. I mean, Paul, I believe there's still a few spaces left.
There are indeed, yeah. It's £10 for a team, maximum of 4. Big cash prize. As well as for first place, as well as a meal for 4 and a gallon of beer, both very kindly donated by the Bunkers Hill and pub people. So if you want to come down, just email therinkrush@gmail.com, and we'll also have, fresh from a 3 nights residency at the NIC and an appearance at Glastonbury, our very own Tina singing a few songs there as well.
Yep.
So, thank you.
Yeah, so £10 for a team, an absolute bargain. I think there's 6 or 7 spaces left.
Something like that, yes.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So please be quick if you want to take part. Panthers fan Stephen Fleming has released a book called Ice Hockey, A Fan's View, which is about his life watching ice hockey in North America and, of course, the Panthers. It's available for $9.99 on Amazon and $3.99 on Kindle. If you go to his website, which is Steve Fleming, that's with a double M in Fleming.co.uk, there's also a competition to win a signed copy of the book, a Zagreb t-shirt, and also 2 tickets for Panthers versus Braehead on the 20th of August. The World Junior Ball Hockey World Championships are taking place at Ice Sheffield this week. There is free entry, and the competition will last until next Tuesday. It's for under 16s, under 18s and under 20s. GB have teams in all age groups. If you can't get down to Ice Sheffield, there's live streaming available from www.sheffield2016.com. And finally, the UK Forum All-Stars will be taking place at the end of July, the 29th to the 31st of July at Ice Arena, Wales. 8 teams taking part, all representing charities, and we will hopefully have someone from the UK Forum All-Stars on our next podcast, which should go out just before that tournament takes place. Okay, we've got 2.5 minutes left before we are unceremoniously cut off air. So just a couple of your tweets that you've sent to us. Matt Moore, he says, who do you think, guys, will be the captain and alternate captains this season? So, Tina, very quickly.
Oh, gosh, I don't know. I've just been having a look at that because I saw that come in. And captain, gosh, I don't know. I can see Jansen getting a letter. I don't know if captain is quite where I would want to see him, but maybe him getting an A. I don't know. Possibly somebody along the lines of Brad Moran. He seems like he's got a cool head on his shoulders and can maybe lead a team, perhaps. So they'd be my initial thoughts, I think.
Okay, Paul.
Like Tina, not really got a clue. I think I wouldn't give Jansen the captain. I think you need a sort of a calmer person. So, but who knows? I'm sure Corey's got his ideas already about that.
Okay. Back onto the music thing, and one from my dear wife, who's only downstairs. She puts Sandstorm. We've suffered it for 10 years, so you should too. No, I don't think so.
That's like saying everybody should have Simsy announcing, isn't it?
Well, it is a little bit. Right, we've got literally a minute left, so I want to say a big thank you for listening to us. If you've listened live, or if you're listening on the download afterwards, thank you very, very much for joining us. It's the first time we've done it, so I hope it's come across okay. Many thanks.
It's a bit like being an episode of Top Gear on Dave, isn't it?
It will be. I would say many thanks to Paul.
Not a problem.
And many thanks to Tina.
TTFN, darlings.
Okay. Many thanks for listening. If you want to let us know what you've thought, please send it at Cats Whiskers TV on Twitter. Use the hashtag TCW Live. Let us know what you think. And we will probably do some more live shows as we get into the new season. But until then, thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time on the Cats Whiskers podcast. She got teeth like razors.